We'll call the meeting to order. First item of business is we would like to amend the agenda to authorize the chair to sign contracts outside of regular meeting times over the course of the summer. So we would entertain a motion to amend the agenda to include that item. We have a motion from Jackie, second from Fran. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Are there abstentions? I see none. The motion carries. The chair is authorized to sign contracts. We have public comments, and we have no one from the public showing up. So item 2, to approve the following collective bargaining agreements. And we should turn this over to Nick for his presentation.
Jim, could you? Oh, yeah. Just do it. Alright, so we will begin. I apologize for those in the room who've heard this 3 times now. We'll start with teachers. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we'll go through. This overview covers every change that was agreed to as part of the tentative agreement. If you have questions on anything, please let me know. The first item, Appendix A, is the salary schedule. What was agreed to was a settlement of 1.5% plus step for each year of the 3-year contract. In addition, there was an agreement to increase step 21 to represent a full step as opposed to a 3/4 step, meaning those teachers previously who moved on to step 21 received 3/4 of a step as an increase. Starting with this coming year, they will receive a full step increase. The total cost of that proposal was about 3.4% in year 1, and the percentage increase drops off slightly in years 2 and 3. Appendix B is the increase of the hourly rate, which is used for various things such as summer school. It's used for some after-school committees, essentially anywhere a teacher is paid hourly outside of their regular contract. That rate had been $32.75 for many years, going back to, I believe, 2000. So we're proposing that it be increased over 3 years to $35 in year 1, $38 in year 2, and $40 in year 3. Article 8.14, which you will also see on the support staff contract, is a collaborative committee to discuss issues of staff safety. That'll be made up of support staff members, teachers, and representatives of the administration. And that committee will meet no later than October 1 of 2021. 10.5 adds language with regards to the sick leave bank, that it will be administered by a joint committee of association and administrative representatives, such that each party will have 50% of representation. The sick leave bank provides time to teachers who have exhausted their own time but may have medical reasons for continued leave. Article 23.1, previously individual printed contracts were made available to any teacher who wanted one. That was a lot of paper. So now, going forward, the contract, once agreed to, will be posted on the website, and we will not need to print individual contracts. 25.4 modifies language regarding the evaluation process and the post-observation conference process, just to reflect the timeline that was approved earlier this year in the new evaluation model, the professional growth plan. And so this timeline aligns with what was established in that document. So this is just keeping us consistent. 26.26. This is just a changing of timeline for when my office, Human Resources, creates the length of service or the seniority list, as well as the certification list for teachers, and distributes those. We moved the timeline up a month so that it did not overlap with the issuing of contracts, because that provided for some confusion about certifications and contracts. And so doing this 1 month earlier will allow contracts to be created without any confusion. Article 29.18 permits a building principal to assign a designated teacher in charge when they are absent from the building, to essentially be the teacher in charge, essentially the principal while they're gone, and they will receive a stipend, the amount of $1,200 per year for that work. Articles 29.23 and 29.24 clarify the assigning of duties, administrative duties in the schools. It also provides that a teacher who works in multiple buildings on a given day should not be assigned a duty due to travel. 29.26 creates another collaborative committee between the teachers and the administration to review elementary preparation time, the amount of time, and how it is scheduled throughout the day or the week. Article 29.31, this was actually language that was provided through a grievance that was settled outside of contract negotiations, and we're simply inserting that language into the contract. This is in regards to how payment is calculated for a teacher at the high school who agrees to teach an additional block or an additional section in addition to their regular schedule. 29.32 does the same thing for the Southwest Tech. It provides a dollar amount, a specific dollar amount rather than a calculation of $3,200, which is an increase from the previous amount. And then finally, 30.1B serves to clarify a prior negotiated contract, I think it was 2017-2019, provided that there was a section on the salary schedule for those in the bachelor's plus 15 and bachelor's plus 30 columns, that a teacher could not advance beyond step 15, that they needed to move horizontally. They needed to obtain either their master's degree or move to bachelor's plus 45 to continue to advance beyond step 15. And this serves to clarify based on their current placement rather than their placement back in FY17, so that teachers can today look at where they are on the schedule and understand how this applies to them. So it's just making it a little bit easier for them to understand. I'll also share, just so you can see them, the salary schedules that were agreed that reflect the 1.5% plus step, as well as these reflect the renumbering of steps. As you may know, our steps started on step 4 because of the elimination of the prior steps 1, 2, and 3. And so now we're renumbering those steps to start at step 1 through step 17. And so these are the three-year salary grids.
Thank you, Nick. Is there a motion to approve the teachers' collective bargaining agreement?
So moved.
All moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Jackie, second from Fran. Are there any questions for Nick? Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none. The collective bargaining agreement for teachers is approved. The ESP collective bargaining agreement is next on the list, Nick.
Okay, so same layout here, and we'll go through each one quickly. This is a 2-year contract. That was done intentionally. The teachers are a 3-year, teachers are a 2-year. The idea being to stagger those two so that committees and administrators involved in that process do not have to do 2 negotiations at once, which can be time-consuming. So what was negotiated with the support staff contract was a salary increase of step plus 1.5% each year for the 2 years. In addition to that, as you will see later, and as part of a compensation package that was accepted by the support staff, they asked to receive dental coverage, and so that was factored in at a cost somewhere in the range of 1 to 1.5%. So it was part of a kind of total compensation package, and we'll talk about the dental coverage shortly. So step plus 1.5% each year. Language-wise, we're replacing all instances of para-educator or paraprofessional to reflect current language and the official job description code. We've also, believe it or not, the contract that is in place right now still refers to each elementary district individually, and so we are replacing all instances of that with the new Union Elementary School District. This is the same language as you saw in teacher contract. 8.6 here represents the collaborative committee that will meet to review issues of staff safety. And as I said, that's made up of members of the support staff, teachers, as well as administrators. 8.7 adds language regarding CPI training and documentation that is given to new hires. There will be new documentation that will be provided at the time of hire to new paraprofessionals, And then CPI training, which has always been provided, we're simply codifying that it will be provided as soon as reasonably possible after their date of hire. 11.3 serves to clarify. Previously, this read that the superintendent may from time to time change the assignment of an employee, but may not assign the employee to a different employee unit. And there was confusion by all about what was meant by employee unit. So it was clarified to me employer, meaning SVSU as an employer, MAU as an employer, SVUESD as an employer. So the ability for the superintendent to move an employee between employers is now clarified as being limited. 11.6 states that the association will have 10 days to review any proposed changes to job descriptions. It also just codifies the practice that we hire an employee and assign them to a classification and group as specified on Appendix A, and that's simply the salary schedule, so that we will hire them to a position listed on that schedule. 11.8, previously paraprofessionals who covered for a teacher in their absence and essentially taught the class were paid an additional $2 per hour. That has been increased to $3 per hour. 11.10 provides that a paraprofessional who covers for an intensive special needs specialist will receive the higher rate of pay for any hours worked at that position. Article 15.6, also present in the teacher's contract, provides that there will be a joint committee that administers the sick bank, and that it will be made up of 50% representation from the association and 50% from the administration. 16.5 provides that it simply adds that the assistant superintendent or the assistant director of Southwest Tech has the ability to approve general leave of absences in the absence of the superintendent or the director. Article 18, the first two serve to clarify that we are now, instead of having health insurance specified in our document how it's paid, we're simply referring to the statewide health insurance provisions that were negotiated for the entire state. So it did not make sense for us to continue to have our own health insurance provisions in our contract. 18.4 provides the dental coverage that was discussed previously. This is the same dental coverage at the same cost sharing that is provided to our teachers. In essence, the board will cover 90% of a single dental plan, and that dollar amount can be applied to either a single, two-person, or family plan with the employee making up the difference. So we calculated this at approximately 1 to 1.5% of their overall compensation, and it was part of that package that was accepted. Article 18.6, there's some new language in here regarding how the district calculates any premium owed should an employee sign their contract to return and then fail to honor that contract. In essence, if they leave prior to December 1st, they owe the district back for a portion of their health insurance premium that was paid for the summer months, July and August. That had always been the practice, but the actual language for how it was calculated was not in the support staff contract, it was only in the teacher's contract. So we simply copied over that language into this contract so that it is represented there. Article 19.6 just clarifies that that step is granted in any year in which a step is negotiated. Previously, it technically said that a step would be granted every year. That is not always the settlement. There are settlements such as last year that do not involve a step, so it was prudent to clarify that step needs to be negotiated. 19.9 was removal of language regarding the continuation of health insurance after an employee has retired. Blue Cross does not allow us to keep someone on our plan. Once they've retired, they have to pursue other options. And so we've removed that language because it is no longer an option. And 20.4 was removed. It was unnecessary because of the statewide health insurance agreement. We did not need this language to distinguish between single coverage, two-person, and family coverage. And the final language here, 20.5, clarifies that the old practice of requiring an employee to cover at a higher pay rate for 5 days is being removed, and essentially anytime an employee covers at a position with a higher pay rate, they will receive that pay for any time worked in that role. For example, a maintenance employee covering for the foreman for the four-person would receive that rate of pay for any time worked. They don't have to do 5 days before receiving that pay. So So those are all the language changes. I'm also happy to share the pay schedules, which simply represent the 1.5% increase each year over the 2 years for all positions in the contract. That's everything.
Thank you, Nick. Is there a motion to approve the ESP collective bargaining agreement?
So moved. Second.
Motion from Jackie, second from Fran. Discussion, questions for Nick? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? I think what we're hearing is Tim. I don't hear it.
Nine.
And the motion carries. The third is the non-union wage increase. If we can get through this, Nick.
Tim has his hand up. I don't know if he knows that, but Tim? No, it's not responding.
So for the non-union wage increase, we always historically wait until both contracts are settled before recommending a wage increase for non-union employees. When we propose something, we look at both our 3 association contracts as well as
They're getting ready to come.
what other trends are looking like in our industry and others. So when we look at our teacher settlement, that came out to roughly 3.4%. Our support staff contract came out to 2.5% plus the dental benefit, which was calculated at 1 to 1.5%. And then our administrator's contract has a 2.5% base increase plus their step, so that averages out to roughly 3% per year. We also look at trends, so we look at sources like Willis Towers Watson and other resources both at the state level and national level to see where salary trends are going. We certainly saw suppressed increases in 2020.
Jim.
For 2021, we're seeing trends back up to the 2.5 to 3% range. And so when looking at internal benchmarking and external, the recommendation we're making is a 3% increase for non-union staff.
No, I don't.
We can't hear you, Tim. You're breaking up.
While Tim is breaking up, I would ask for a motion to approve the non-union.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion? Questions for Nick? Hearing none. Oh,
Ray had
Ray?
his hand up.
Ray?
Wait, I'm sorry, I was a bit distracted by the breaking up part of this, so could you repeat the motion?
The motion was to approve the non-union wage increase for 21 through 22. And there was a motion by Jackie and a
Was
second by
that
Fran.
amount specified as a percent?
3%.
3% was the number.
3%.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, that's... All those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No abstentions? Seeing none. The motion passed. Thank you, Nick.
And I should mention that the Southwest Tech told us they will schedule their meeting for Monday or Tuesday of next week. And then that's the final step to having both
Okay.
contracts ratified.
Okay.
Okay.
Moving on, finance and operations, we have a treasurer's report from dated May 31, 2021. We need a motion to
I'll move it.
accept that, made by Fran. We have a second,
Second.
and second by Jackie. Are there questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Is that in opposition, Chayla, or?
No, I was just a little late with my mute button.
Okay. Abstentions? Seeing none, the motion is accepted for the treasurer's report. We have a banking resolution to transition to the newly elected treasurer taking effect July 1st. We would ask for a motion to approve that.
So move.
Motion by
Second.
Fran. Second.
Second.
By Jackie. Discussion. No discussion. All those in favor of approving the banking resolution to transition to the newly elected treasurer effective July 1, signify by raising your hand and saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. The other item under finance and operations related is the Little Free Library proposal in Pownell.
You're accepting a donation.
Are we accepting a donation?
Well, just create this free little library for.
I saw the write-up on it, I just didn't realize there was any funds. So we
I think it's permission to do it, but they'll be helping with donations.
we would ask for a motion to approve the Little Free Library in Pownell.
Second,
Motion by Scott, second by Ray.
yes.
Discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Seeing none, we're glad to accept the Little Free Library in Pownell. Item 4 is the consent agenda, minutes, warrants, retirements, resignations, and nominations. Motion to accept that approve that by Fran,
Second.
second by Scott. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Seeing none, the motion carries. The consent agenda is accepted. We have two policies tonight. 4035, conflict of interest in hiring. We're asking for a motion to warn.
Move it.
Second.
Second,
That is warned by Fran, second by
Ray.
Ray. Thank you, Ray. Discussion? All those in favor of warning 4035, conflict of interest in hiring, signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? We have warned 4035, conflict of interest in hiring. And we are asking for a motion to adopt 5030,
Move it.
attendance. We have a motion from Fran,
Second.
a second by Jackie. Is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting 5030 attendance signify by saying aye and raising your hand.
Aye.
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 Opposed? No abstentions? And 5030 attendance is adopted, which brings us to the superintendent's report. You have the floor, Jim.
Thank you. Some of you have heard me say this at both the MAU meeting and the Union Elementary Board meeting, but it's not always the same people, so let me talk about some end-of-the-year activities that the assistant superintendent and I did. We did tours of most of our school buildings. We did a restorative circle with every school. Our schedule, we learned that we really shouldn't try to tour 4 schools in one day, so a couple of the schools we didn't get to the tour to see everyone. But this circle consisted of a cross-section of staff members that joined us outside and in chairs and circles, and there were 3 different prompts, and basically we wanted feedback for how their year under really 15 months under COVID and how operating, and from what would they leave behind, what did they want to continue from what we've done in the past year. And I found it really opened my eyes. One, it was great to be in schools again. We've really tried to respect each school's bubble, even though technically they weren't a bubble. But we didn't want to put unnecessary personnel in a building unless it was required. So it was really only the second time that I've been in a school building since the beginning of the year. So it was great to see people and be there, and the feedback was so helpful. So we took that information last week, everything that we gathered, and we shared it with the central office administrators at a little mini summit that we did with administrators last week. We also did a circle with them to get their feedback, and it was at times, both at our schools that we toured and with our administrators, it was emotional as people recounted about what their experience was during the past 15 months. And I'll repeat this again. I saw a lot of exhaustion in people's faces that are just happy that we got to the end of the year, and we have a little bit of a break before summer recovery programs work. That work begins, and by and large, your staff, teachers, support staff, administrators, really rose to the occasion, but it's taken a toll on everyone. So what's our next step with that? So we're planning an administrators workshop for August. We do one every year, usually 2 days. For this year, it's tentatively scheduled for August 9th and 10th, and some of the themes that we'll be covering on those workshops will be related a little to what we heard and where we need to go in the next direction. Where one of the things that we're going to is we've already identified that equity is one of our themes for this year, and what will be different for the start of this school year. So we've made the decision to not do what we typically do at the start of every school year, which is 600 plus staff members gather in the auditorium at Mount Anthony Union High School, and we have like maybe a keynote speaker and some other activities. But we're going to forego that this year. We just made the decision that people may still not be comfortable with that, putting despite what the state guidelines and federal guidelines may be. So we're coming up with alternative ways to have our SU day with our staff as they return, and I'm excited about that. I think that we anticipated what may have been an issue, and I think we have some very creative ways of how we're going to welcome staff back, and that planning is already taking place. We will unveil all of that with our administrators in August. The other thing that I want to say, come June 30th, we will be fully absorbing Arlington, well, it's July 1, June 30th, Arlington and Sandgate. So we won't be leaving them out. They'll be invited. The administrators of their schools will be invited to attend our leadership workshops for August. And I've tried to be respectful of the merger timeline. So after July 1, we have a tentative date scheduled that the administrators of central office will be going up to Arlington. We will tour the schools in Arlington. We will meet with the administrators of Arlington, and then we will have time to speak with each other and get to know each other as we begin. So that'll be so that they're not coming to us at the August administrative workshop without us have already interacted and at least making some type of connection. So going to try and take a little bit of pause as we get to the end of June, but then July promises to be a busy month for both summer recovery and planning for the start of school, which fingers crossed that it will resemble what the start of school looked like pre-pandemic. But that's fingers crossed. I think we will be there. I don't know what fall masking policies may be when you consider so many of our students, particularly our elementary students, may not be vaccinated at that point. But we'll wait and see what guidance, if we get guidance from the state on that. So, any questions that the board may have for me? I just want to thank you for your support during this past 15 months. During this, I think you've also risen to the occasion, and you have accepted a different way of doing business for now, like we're meeting right now. So maybe soon we'll all be meeting together.
Right?
So this integration of administrators from Arlington into you're talking about your annual August administrative meeting, right?
Yes,
Sort
yeah,
of a retreat.
yeah.
Is it, is there any differentiation between the two groups in that?
No, the
or-
topics will be more, they're more general, like we always get a legal update from our attorney comes and gives a legal update. One issue that may be different is, what's on our agenda is a review of the new evaluation process and tool. So that may not apply to, well, it won't apply to Arlington, but we will strive to do an alternative during that time block. The 2 days are divided up with, for different time blocks for professional learning activities, but we'll make sure that they're tailored to each group. But with as much overlap and cooperation so that we're all together as can be. So we also try and do some team building activities at the same time, and we'll all be together for that.
And these are building administrators for the most part?
We invite principals, vice principals, and central office administrators, so there'll be potential to be 30 people.
And of course, the building administrators will be in their buildings at the start of next year. The central office staff from Arlington, are they going to remain in Arlington, or actually, where is it? Sunderland, is that where the office is? Or is that closed down?
I'll be able to answer that for you after July 1. When I said, I've tried to be respectful that, that their operation is their operation until we go, and then I'll go and take the tour after July, and but I see Matthew had his hand up, maybe he could answer that.
Yeah.
Our central office is within the high school currently, right here in Arlington, so I don't know as though, as James has said, we haven't really finalized that whole plan, but we're working through that. So, I think that this is a great opportunity for our administrators to get to meet and really work with everyone, through this engagement, and good things to come out of it.
And use this year, Matthew, that this is as we bring this all together, this is a transitional year. So where people may be physically located now could be different a year from now, but July 1, we're not moving any desks on July 1.
Right.
And I mean, really, the pandemic has taught us, right, that we can work from anywhere and we can adapt. So knowing that how well everyone has adapted and been accommodating through our district and in the BVSU throughout the pandemic, I would not see us having any problem in change or adaptation as we move forward.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Well, it's respectful, and hopefully that is exactly the way it goes. Thank you.
We're committed to it.
Yep.
Anything else, Jim?
No.
I think some thanks are in order. I guess the first thing I want to say is Jayla and Nick and Katie West spent a lot of time, and I hope I'm not leaving anybody off that list, putting together letters for our retirees to express our gratitude and highlight some of their activities. I think that's an important piece, and I wanted to thank those folks. The negotiators probably do some of the toughest work that any board members have to do, and it worked, so thank you. Jim had a terrific letter in the banner. I'm not sure, I would hope that everybody got an opportunity to read it. It kind of highlighted the activities of so many people in this organization that make things work.
And I hope I didn't leave anybody out, but I put a lot of people's eyes on it to look. I mean, that's the problem when you start thanking people. And I apologize if I did leave anyone, but I think we got everyone.
It's always a problem, but the sense was there that we all got a chance to work together, found out that it worked, and people appreciated each other. that seems to be a rare attitude this past year. Also wanted to say thank you to Arlington and Sandgate. Some of us have met independently and talked about a variety of issues that we have to take a look at, and in spite of the hard work going forward that's going to have to include them, they're a pretty good group and they're pretty reasonable to talk to and work with, and I think that will continue. So I think this is going to be a good get-together. And I think that's all I have to say.
Quick, I've been out of town. What day was the letter that in the banner?
Friday.
There you go. It's a big one. Good letter, though.
Is that also on the SU website?
I believe it is, but I could email it to all board members.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Shayla has her hand up.
I'm sorry, Jayla?
I want to thank you for your recognition. However, I just really want to do a huge shout out to Katie West. She really was amazing and worked her butt off, and I just wanted to make sure that I just appreciated her. And
She really allowed the letters to be personalized.
she did an amazing job.
She did that. She did that for the elementary board, and she did that for some other things we worked on. So absolutely want to echo what Shayla says.
I think sometimes we let people walk away without giving them the recognition they deserve, and it's always nice to have something in your hand when you walk away that you can be proud of, and I think that accomplished that, so thank you. I have nothing else to say. Are there other items that we might want to look at for adding to the next agenda, or anything else we might consider tonight? I hear nothing. For your information, the budget status report's included, the student enrollment is included, and the appointment of the treasurer, Dave Durfee, is also included in the packet, and we would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a
Second.
motion from Fran, second from,
Just a note that
Second.
we won't have a July meeting unless we need an emergency meeting, otherwise it'll be the fourth Wednesday of August,
fourth Wednesday of August.
whatever
Okay,
that date is.
thank you, Jim. All those in favor of adjourn?
Aye.
Opposed? I didn't think we'd get opposed or abstentions. And we are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Good night.
folks.